He walked into the diner like he had done for years, an elderly black veteran, quiet, proud, and carrying the weight of decades of service. But that morning, respect was replaced with hostility. A biker, covered in tattoos and rage, locked eyes on him. Within moments, the laughter and chatter in the diner fell silent. What happened next would not only shock the room, it would set off a chain of events no one saw coming. How could a simple meal turn into a fight for dignity, justice, and respect?
For decades, Mr. Harris had lived a quiet, disciplined life. At 81 years old, he carried himself with the dignity of a man who had served his country and endured battles most people could never imagine. His neighbors saw him as a symbol of strength, an elderly black veteran who still walked to the corner diner each morning, greeting the staff by name and ordering the same simple breakfast: black coffee, eggs, and toast. It was his routine, a small piece of peace in a world that often moved too fast. But behind that calm smile was a lifetime of unspoken trials. He had worn his uniform proudly, yet had faced prejudice even while defending the very freedoms others took for granted. To most, the diner was just a place to eat. For Mr. Harris, it was a refuge, a reminder of normalcy, of community, of belonging. That morning, the diner felt no different. The smell of fresh coffee, the sizzle of bacon on the grill, the soft chatter of regulars, it was all familiar. Yet, as the door swung open and the heavy boots of a biker echoed across the tiled floor, the atmosphere shifted. Conversations grew quieter. Eyes darted toward the newcomer. Something about the way he carried himself suggested trouble was close behind. Mr. Harris, unaware of the storm about to unfold, adjusted his jacket and took a slow sip of his coffee. He didn't know that within minutes his quiet morning ritual would be shattered and his dignity tested in a way that would ignite the entire diner.
The biker's presence filled the diner like a storm cloud. He was tall, broad, and draped in a leather vest stitched with patches that seemed to scream rebellion. His boots thudded against the floor as he moved closer, eyes locked on Mr. Harris. The veteran glanced up politely, offering the kind of nod he had given strangers for years. But instead of acknowledgement, he was met with a sneer. The biker's voice cut through the chatter, loud enough for everyone to hear. He made a comment about Mr. Harris's age, mocking the way he held his coffee cup as if weakness could erase decades of strength. Then came the sharper sting, a remark about his race, venom disguised as humor. The room stiffened. Patrons shifted uncomfortably in their seats, but no one spoke. The waitress clutched her coffee pot tighter. A man in plaid shifted nervously, and still no one moved. The biker leaned in closer, his words dripping with contempt. He mocked Mr. Harris's military service, questioning whether someone like him deserved respect at all. Each insult was like a knife, and though Mr. Harris's face remained composed, his grip tightened on the edge of the table. The diner had grown silent now, so silent that the hum of the fluorescent light seemed louder than ever. Every eye was fixed on the unfolding scene, but no one moved. Fear hung in the air, heavy and suffocating. And then it escalated. With a sudden, deliberate motion, the bikers slapped the cup from Mr. Harris's hand, setting hot coffee splattering across the table. Gasps echoed through the diner. The veteran didn't rise, didn't fight back. He simply sat, shoulders squared, eyes fixed forward, refusing to be broken. That strength, that silent defiance only enraged the biker further. For a moment, it felt like time had stopped. Would anyone step in? Would someone finally speak up? The waitress clutched her coffee pot tighter. A man in plaid shifted nervously, and still no one moved. The biker leaned in closer, his words low but seething with hatred. "Men like you don't belong here," he spat, each word cutting deeper than the last. And then the sound of the diner doors swinging open. Heavy footsteps, a sudden shift in the atmosphere as if the air itself knew something was about to change. The biker froze, his bravado wavering. Mr. Harris turned slowly toward the entrance, his tired eyes meeting a sight that none of the stunned onlookers would ever forget. The rising storm had reached its peak, but what came through that door would determine how this story ended.
The diner door creaked shut, and all eyes shifted. A tall man in uniform stood at the entrance, broad shoulders, stern eyes, and a presence that demanded respect. The resemblance was undeniable. This was Mr. Harris's son, a soldier still in service, fresh from deployment. His gaze swept the room, landing on his father, coffee-stained, humiliated, but sitting upright with unshaken dignity. The biker, momentarily caught off guard, straightened his vest and smirked, masking the flicker of unease in his eyes. He muttered something under his breath, a final insult meant to remind everyone that fear, not respect, ruled the moment. But his words didn't carry the same weight anymore. The silence of the diner had shifted. Now it pulsed with expectation. The son stepped forward, his boots striking the floor with measured force. Patrons held their breath as the distance closed between soldier and biker. There was no need for raised voices or fists. The intensity was in the silence, in the soldier's eyes, in the way the biker's bravado faltered under the weight of a man who embodied discipline, strength, and justice. For a brief second, it seemed violence might erupt. The biker's hand twitched as if debating another act of cruelty. But something stopped him, the realization that he was no longer the predator in the room. The soldier's calm authority stripped him of the power he thought he held. Mr. Harris's son didn't need to shout or strike. His presence alone was enough to turn the tide. The biker stepped back, his voice cracking as he tried to laugh off the confrontation. But no one in the diner laughed with him. In that tense, breathless moment, the balance of power had shifted completely. The biker had come to humiliate, but now it was he who stood exposed, stripped of control, drowning in the silence of his own defeat. And just as the tension seemed unbearable, the soldier placed a steady hand on his father's shoulder, a silent vow that this humiliation would not define him. The diner, frozen in awe, waited to see what justice would look like.
The silence in the diner was suffocating, broken only by the sound of Mr. Harris's son pulling out a chair and sitting beside his father. No fists were raised, no shouting erupted. Yet the message was unmistakable. His presence alone was justice, a reminder that dignity can be defended without violence. The biker, once bold and loud, now stood shrinking beneath the weight of every eye in the room. The waitress lowered her trembling hands, relief washing over her face, while the man in plaid finally exhaled, as if the air had returned to the room. Mr. Harris didn't need to say a word. His silence spoke louder than any retaliation could. He had endured the humiliation, but not defeat. His quiet strength, backed by the calm, unwavering support of his son, turned the tables completely. The biker, realizing he had lost the crowd and the power he thought he held, stormed out into the daylight, leaving only the echo of his boots behind. But the impact lingered far beyond those diner walls. For those who witnessed it, it was not just about an elderly veteran or his soldier son. It was about every injustice too often met with silence. It was a reminder that racism thrives not only in the actions of aggressors, but also in the hesitation of bystanders who choose not to act. Mr. Harris's story is not unique. Across the world, countless voices are silenced, countless dignities tested. The true measure of justice is not only in confronting the oppressor, but in standing beside the oppressed. So, the question remains, when dignity is under attack, will we stay seated in silence, or will we rise, even in small ways, to stand on the right side of history?